1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
Hey guys!
Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
So, this is the Hake Report. I'm James Hake, and sorry to the JLP listeners and viewers who experienced those technical issues that we were experiencing at the bottom of last hour, in hour 3, because there were major problems. I don't know what was going on, if it was outside or inside or what. Maybe it was an inside job. Nick. Shameful. Canadians. But it is Wednesday, November 6th, 2019, and almost just after 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I will get to your guys' calls. Oh, I got to get to this call like pretty much right away. Oh man, because I made her hold the whole hour last time. I had a guest yesterday. If you guys didn't catch it, I recommend catching it because I interviewed a mutual associate, I guess we would call him. Dylon is a mutual friend of Andy Ruther, the guest that I interviewed yesterday, and he was a liberal. Well, he called himself more like libertarian leaning, which just means liberal pretty much. And it was very fun, but I wasn't able to get to a lot of the calls. So let me first, before I get into these stories, I want to touch briefly on this Mexico massacre that took place against American-Mexico dual citizens, these Mormons that were killed. It's a crazy story. I reported on it at the top of Hake News last hour. Smolsnet calls me lazy, which he's not wrong in a certain sense when it comes to like my show and stuff like that and my news. I do try to get it to you guys, and I like to go kind of in depth, but there's certain things that he's interested that I'm not interested in and other things like that. And there are certain ways that I definitely recognize it is valid criticism. Appreciate that, small snick. But let me get to Chris out of Arizona, and then I will get to some interesting things, more confrontations amongst so-called conservatives that took place just right over here at Cal State LA. Matt Walsh is a strong on abortion conservative type of guy. He was an independent blogger. Then he went to The Blaze, then he went to the Daily Wire, and then he was speaking over at Cal State LA, and some nationalists asked him some interesting questions. Some better questions than others, and some answers were maybe better than others, or worse than others. Anyways, let me quickly get to Chris out of Arizona. Chris, thanks for holding.
Hi, James. Not a problem. You had a great guest yesterday.
Appreciate that, yeah. Yeah, shout out to Dylon for the great guest. Thank you, man.
You called me man again.
Oh, I know, but that's like general. That's like the general man.
I know. It's fine. I got the 7 guaranteed steps the other day. Thank you so much for signing it for me.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for ordering that. It's a great little guide booklet thing. It
really is. It really is. And I remember a few weeks ago, Joel got the book, or no, he's had it for a while. He talked about how good it was and that it was one of the first books in a long time that he read cover to cover. Did you say something like that?
Yeah, I believe it. All
it's
30
even got pictures for him.
Yeah.
It's a picture book.
Yep. That is funny. Colors and everything.
Right. Anyway, it's very, very well written. I love it very much.
Yeah, me too. It just brings you back to the basics. And it just reminds you of what you should be practicing in your life. I like that.
Just like some of the best recipes are very basic.
Right. Yep. Very nice, Chris. Appreciate that.
So I wanted to talk about Popeye's chicken sandwich.
Yeah. I heard that on the news. Another well, I don't know if somebody already died before all this, because I knew they were getting into fights. But I heard on the news that somebody got stabbed to death over in Maryland.
Ridiculous. It's
Because
ridiculous.
somebody cut in line, so a fight broke out. People will, and it's really not, the whole thing is the reality is they tend to escalate. You know, the angry
People
blacks
are getting
tend to
angrier
escalate.
and angrier and angrier.
Yeah, escalate over nothing, and it's a shame. Yeah.
So I know what's in the sandwich, though.
Oh, really? What's in it?
Have you ever heard of Soylent Green?
I've heard of it.
It's a movie with Charlton Heston.
Yes. Okay.
And
Wow.
it was out in 1973, but it's about the year 2022.
Okay.
So what's in Soylent Green, I'm just saying, is probably what's in the chicken, and that's why everybody's killing for it. Because in the movie, it's like what the computer says, what is Soylent Green? What is the secret of Soylent Green?
Yeah.
Really interesting movie. You should check it out.
Okay. You know, there
And
is
while we're
something
talking-
out there called Soylent that people eat now, and they
Oh,
drink it or
that's
something. Yeah. But I think
That's
it's soy based. I don't
Okay.
know. Yeah.
Well, the correlation to what's in Soylent Green in the movie is so disgusting that
Yeah.
I would never name my brand or company or anything after that. I don't think so.
Yeah. Wow.
That reminds
Disturbing.
me of the video I saw the other day of this trans sitting on a bar, and he
I
was
saw
dressed
that.
like he was pregnant. Wasn't that horrible?
That was really disgusting. Okay, so let me just explain these things for these people. Soylent Green, is it spoiling the movie to say what it is?
No, go ahead.
Soylent
might
Green
be
is
spoiling the movie.
the ingredients is people, right? According to the chat,
Right.
the live chat. Thank you, chat.
Right.
And then you just mentioned about this video, which is too disgusting. I don't even want to show it, but it's basically a
I couldn't even pass
transgender
it on,
guy.
it's so bad.
A guy who's dressed up like a woman, dressed up as though he's pregnant, and then he takes a knife and stabs into his fake pregnant belly, and gets like, it turns all red because there's like fake blood, right, coming out.
Yep.
And then he gets this cup or something like that and pretends to be drinking the blood, the fake blood.
And he licks the baby doll.
Yeah.
And he pulls out the afterbirth and like is eating the afterbirth or wrapping it around his neck, and it's just
Meaning
you can't unsee it.
the umbilical
I wish I
cord
could
or whatever.
unsee it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, really nasty. What an evil group of people, but it's not really surprising. They get darker and darker and darker. It's
Right
evil.
on. Yeah.
I appreciate that, Chris. Yeah, it was. I don't even know what the setting was, where that took place, if it was even in this country. But, there are people out there that's so disgusting.
Yeah,
So-
it worries me if it happened here, but
It was
people are so
definitely a
crazy
Western
because-
country. It wasn't in the Muslim country, I wouldn't say. But yeah, I appreciate that, Chris. And it wasn't an Asian country either. It appeared to be a white guy.
It could have
some type
been
of white.
Switzerland.
Yeah. Yeah, awful. Terrible.
Terrible.
And I wasn't just watching stuff online, Ms. Danny69. Somebody copied me on it on Twitter, and Paul Joseph Watson tweeted it and called it something. I forget what he called it, but it was pretty well publicized. But it was really awful. I didn't even want to. I didn't even want to show it. I didn't send it as a tip to Nick or anything. Did you see
I
it,
didn't
Nick?
think you would.
Yeah.
When I saw it, I was like, I bet James saw this, and he's not even going to post
Right.
it because it's so disgusting.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it's good
you
to
have,
describe and point out. That's
Yeah.
how evil people get, and they do that stuff in real life too, because they are that evil.
Yeah, I couldn't even retweet the thing. I thought it was so awful. I'm like, I can't unsee it, but I don't
Yeah.
want my followers or anybody that
I know.
I respect to see this.
Yep, exactly. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you.
All right. You're welcome. Thanks, James. Have
All right.
a good afternoon.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
So, before I get to more calls, appreciate you guys. Hold on, though. Let me quickly just cover this story because this is pretty fresh. This happened yesterday evening, I guess. Over at Cal State LA, you know, they have these conservative groups such as Young America's Foundation or something like that. Young America Federation, whatever. YAF, Y-A-F. Hold these events, right? With conservative hosts, so-called, that they give a speech and then they do this Q&A. Well, Matt Walsh, who's supposed to be a conservative guy, blogger, then he turned into a Blaze. The Blaze is Glenn Beck's outlet. He started writing for them because he's pretty talented as far as writing goes. And then he started writing for The Daily Wire, which is Ben Shapiro's outlet. And he was answering some Q&As, and I have some interesting Q&As for you from him. The first one, it was probably the best question with, I would say, the worst answer. I do not have Dylon's. Dylon was there. And some others who've been on the Jesse Show. But here's one question about anti-white bias, which I thought that everybody knew was real, but he's acting like it's not. It's just about ideas. Listen to this. Clip 11, Nick. Listen to this, Gross.
Hi, Matt. My question is, do you think that modern American society has an anti-white bias? What do you think is causing that, and what do you think that we should do to solve this problem?
Anti-white bias. No, I don't think it comes down to race. I think, as I said, it comes down mainly to ideas. Yep.
That's literally his answer. And I wish the guy would have pressed him for a follow-up, but he didn't. And so I would have answered that question more real, more like honestly, because everybody is talking about this. Everybody knows that this is real. Everybody knows that white people there is an anti-white bias. And that's a very white answer for him to give, too, by the way. I responded on Twitter to this. What did I say? I said something like, that's a very white answer. Oh, I said, okay, he should elaborate at least. Because people, if you're intellectual enough, you can like reasonably say, oh, he's kind of right. But he is blind and or dishonest to deny that reality that there is an anti-white bias. You can say it's ideas-based because whites have totally different ideas from the whole rest of the, as a majority from the whole rest of the POCs. But then you're going to say, what else? It's a white-based excuse. What I said was it's a white-based excuse to explain an anti-white hatred. He's very, very white of him. Northern white, not the southern white. We're more down to earth, right? Intellectual. So, and he is an intellectual. He's not like a spiritual person. Even though he is a Christian, he's intellectual. And the reason that I know he's intellectual is that he's anti-Trump. This guy, he is okay with Trump on certain things, but he was a pretty nasty anti-Trump type of a person, I remember. I don't remember any specifics, but I do remember it. And he's been on the show before, Jesse Lee Peterson show. He wrote this book about, abortion and different things like that, I think. And Jesse had him on about it. I think it was a WorldNet Daily book. But an honest answer would be, yes, there is an anti-white bias, and it's because the whites are standing in the way of this globalist socialism. And they are being attacked and stamped out because of... They're the ones who stand most for the real type of Christianity, against abortion, against they're more nationalistic, they're pro-America, they're pro-actual justice, not social justice. They're not falling for the communist thing as quickly or as much, although many of them the younger people are getting brainwashed by the stupid academia and social media and media. And then you even have a guy like Nick Fuentes living at home. I guess, I don't know, maybe that's the Mexican in him. A lot of immigrants and younger people are living at home longer. And you can say that it's it is partly because it's more expensive. The cost of living is more expensive, and the value of our money is worth less and less and less because of inflation and because of minimum wage, which didn't exist, and other things like that. But it is an anti-white bias, and it is an anti-Christian bias, and it's a spiritual battle. It's not a battle of ideas. See, the intellectuals believe in ideas, and that's not spirituality. That's not Christian. And so for him to just chalk it up just to mere ideas is so wrong. Because it's very obvious anytime a white person is nationalist or remotely advocating on behalf of white people, suddenly that's a taboo. That's an anti-white bias. Even his answer is anti-white bias. What else did I say? I said a lot of things. I said it wasn't even a hard question, but he gave like a no solutions phony answer. He should have. People are talking about this, and he knows that people are talking about this. And for him to shut that down, I don't think it was a fair response. But of course, we shouldn't be surprised. Like I said, he's anti-Trump. He's right on a few things, like abortion he's pretty good about. A more real answer would be calling it a spiritual answer, but he's an intellectual. And that's really Ben Shapiro's problem, too. He's an intellectual. He's blind on the Trump thing, for example, and Christianity, too, of course. So let me quickly run through a couple more of these clips. I got a question. He got a question from a young America Firster, and he got another bland answer. So here's this guy's question. It's kind of long, and he has a lot to it. He talks about immigration. He talks about these people that we're electing who are not coming through for us, which to me is a symptom of weak society, because we elect weak people. We've been electing very weak people, except for Trump. And then about America standing for Israel, but not standing for America. Ridiculous. Go for it.
Question is regarding the state of conservatism in the 21st century. It appears like our base, our party, has been hijacked by neocons and libertarians that only pay lip service to evangelical Christians on the social issues and immigration. However, these conservatives only seem to deliver on securing funds for Israel, getting us involved in more wars, bringing in low-skilled labor to take away jobs from U.S. citizens, while also pushing for corporations to get tax cuts and to decide the wages of the American worker. What should we do regarding this crisis, or is this even a crisis to begin with?
So what should we do about the crisis of illegal immigration is basically your question.
Corporatism, regime change wars.
Okay, that was a lot that you're asking me to solve in 2 minutes here. Well, as far as immigration, I would say I'm 100% in favor of building the wall. I think the idea that we were going to build a 2,000-mile long wall across the entire border was always pretty silly. I'm not sure that anyone ever believed that was going to happen, but certainly we should be increasing the physical barriers, because I think studies show that does decrease the problem of illegal immigration, and we should be enforcing the laws that we have on the books. I think that's also a problem, is we haven't been enforcing those laws. So, hope I answered your question.
I don't think he did answer the question. So he asked about immigration in general, not just illegals. Illegal immigration is very safe answer for him. I think he's being safe. And nobody said 2,000-mile border wall, by the way. Nobody said that. Trump never said that. He said that there are areas where there is a physical barrier, you don't need a wall. He said that even during the campaign. So it's a caricature of the argument. So for him to be pretending that that's what Trump was calling for. And it's really ridiculous. He completely didn't even answer the question. And it's a shame. And I guess that's a very bland answer. And here's one more kind of interesting question, an interesting answer, from Vincent James, who is an earnest guy, serious about about nationalism. And he grills, and he's also a Catholic. He's serious about his Catholicism. And he gets offended about something that Ben Shapiro said on the Joe Rogan podcast, very dismissive of Jesus, right? And so Matt Walsh responds with a very mocking answer. It's so strange. So interesting, though. Listen to this.
past working for someone who originally contributed to shaming the Covington Catholic kids and by retweeting left-wing attacks, and called Jesus a Jewish rebel who tried to lead a revolt against the Romans and got killed for his trouble.
That's... Wait, you're telling me that my Jewish boss doesn't believe that Jesus is the Son of God? I'm scandalized by this. I have no idea. As a Christian, how do I justify working for someone who's not a Christian? I find that to be a total non sequitur.
Who blasphemed Christ? That's my main question.
Well, it's not blasphemy. Are you suggesting that everyone... Hold on a second. Are you suggesting that everyone who is not Christian is guilty of blasphemy?
You are a Christian, and you're working for someone who blasphemed Christ, Jesus Christ. He called him a Jewish rebel, just a Jewish rebel who tried to lead a revolt against the Romans and got killed just like other Jewish rebels did. And I'm a Christian, and I just don't see I couldn't see myself.
Okay. So you're not going to work for
and
anyone.
And then originally retweeted left-wing attacks on the Covington Catholic kids. I'm Catholic.
Okay, just to clarify, you're not going to work for anyone who's not Christian, is what you're saying. That's your decision.
I'm not going to work for someone who publicly states to millions upon millions of people that Jewish was a Jewish rebel who tried to lead a revolt against the Romans.
Would you ever work for a non-Christian?
Not if they publicly state to millions upon millions of people. This was on Joe Rogan that Jesus was a Jewish rebel who tried to lead a revolt against the Romans and got killed for his trouble.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying.
I'll tell you what.
He said that to millions upon millions of people. This was on Joe Rogan.
When I get back to the studio, I'm going to talk to Ben and tell him you must be a Christian right now because that is unacceptable. I would definitely tell him that.
That's a straw man. That's not what I'm saying.
Let me also.
I've worked for many non-Christians in the past. What I'm saying is.
Then let me tell you something. I'm going to talk now. Okay. Thank you for your question. If you have worked for any non-Christian, then you have worked for people who feel exactly that way about Jesus.
They don't. That's a pretty rare thing to think. That's a pretty rare thing to think about Jesus, in my opinion. I've never heard that before. I had never heard somebody say that Jesus was a criminal who went up against the Romans and he was killed for it. Something like that. That's a dishonest answer. And I don't know if I would have that beef because it's kind of like I care more about what people stand for and what they do as opposed to what they say about Jesus. Because a lot of people do say some nasty things, but I'm more concerned with Ben's kind of anti-Trumpness. But he has that same type of smart remark personality that isn't really an honest answer to this guy's concern. He should just say, I just don't relate to your, I guess you would call it zealousness for people that disrespect the religion. Right? And that would be a fair answer. Because I don't know if I have that same level of concern about what Ben Shapiro said about Jesus, or what because people say that the Talmud says some nasty things about what's going on with Jesus, that he's boiling in grossness, is what they says in the Talmud. And that's like really, to me, like an irrelevant point, because the only people that I hear that from are the people criticizing the Jews. I don't hear the Jews repeating that. But for Ben Shapiro to say that is totally different from somebody else to quietly think very dismissively about Christianity, which is what this guy is making those people equal. Who cares? But anyways, it was kind of dishonest, man. But not really surprising. This guy's, like I said, an intellectual. Anyways, let me get to some calls. I have a question from Joe to Joel, but Joel's not here. But I'll have to get to Joe later, I guess, if Joel's coming back. I don't know if he's coming back. James out of Texas. Thank you for holding, James. Go for it.
Hello?
Yes. Turn off the show, James. Hang on. Make sure that James's phone is correct. It's bad. Let me get to Brian out of Virginia. Brian, how are you doing, Brian?
Hey, I'm great. How are you doing today?
Doing fine, man. What's up over there in Virginia?
So we just flipped over to Democrat for the first time in 26 years last night, and I was calling about that.
I read about that, man. That's terrible.
Well, so the deeper story is that we had a redistricting 2 years ago.
Okay, I heard a little bit about
out.
that. Yeah.
Right. So the
Supposedly
threw it out because they said it was racist.
Yeah. That's ridiculous. They're saying that most judges are liberal, right? So basically, what I gather is, or what I surmise might have happened, is that the liberal judge said that no, your redistricting was racist and it benefits the Republicans too much. So he changed it to benefit the Democrats. Is that correct?
Right. So the numbers came out to approximately, they're still reporting, but the Republicans got about 920,000 votes and the Democrats got about 820,000.
Okay.
But they won the election because of the way the court redrew the maps.
Wow.
So the court's idea of what is fair is for the Republicans to win the election and then the Democrats to get the seat.
Wow. Interesting. What a mess. That's called gerrymandering, and they accuse So, go for it.
I was just saying, don't write us off yet. We voted the right way, and the federal judge, kind of disregarded that for us. So we're not completely lost yet.
It's so funny that it's so ridiculous that they call it racist, because whites are the only ones who vote as a majority sane, and I've repeated this like over and over again, and the POCs as a majority don't, and it's so dishonest of the liberals. Of course, you can expect that, but it's dishonest of people like these standard conservatives who just pretend that, oh, we can convince all these other races to vote right. We can convince some of them, but as a majority, this present day reality is they don't. And it's an emergency. It's a national emergency, and it's an attack on whites. It's actually an attack on all races who are remotely fair-minded, all people, because they shouldn't want this. This is because these people don't believe in the Second Amendment. They don't believe in the First Amendment. They believe in hate speech, which is a fake idea. It's so wrong. It's so evil. I saw that you guys, well, not you, right? But I saw that over in Virginia, they elected Ghazala Hashmi, Indian woman, born in India, came here as a child, Muslim, the first Muslim American woman to serve in the Virginia State Senate. What is any Muslim doing in Virginia? It's crazy. And then Clinton Jenkins.
Go ahead.
Clinton Jenkins, a black guy, ousted this Chris Jones delegate, a white man.
And we have a transgender. We have the whole thing.
You do?
The basis that if you look it up, it's an interesting story.
I might have seen it, actually.
The trans person's past. But the basis of their claim of the racism is that all the POCs were in the same district. But if they all live in the same place, they're going to be in the same district. Like, assuming racism was even a real thing, how would that be racist?
Right.
The same district.
It reminds me of this whole...
how made up it is.
Yeah, so in other words, they're trying to get the distribution of the races equal amongst each of the districts or something like that?
Well, that would be their claim, but in reality, what they're doing is they're trying to water down the Republican vote so that they can win the election.
It's so funny that they accuse the Republicans of gerrymandering when they're the ones doing it. It's just like what's happening with Trump.
Right, and this is, now Governor Blackface, leave the baby on the table, has a majority in both houses.
Northam.
And that, we're in for some trouble.
Seriously. You guys have had a lot of trouble for a long time, though, to be honest, right? With Terry McAuliffe taking over after a Republican was supposedly
the governor and the federal senators, we've had a lot of Democrats, but the Republicans have controlled the House of Delegates and the state Senate.
Okay, yeah.
Which has kind of moderated what they could do. We're good on gun rights right now. The abortion restrictions are decent.
Yeah.
But all that's going out the window. So
Man.
as everybody in Virginia, dig a hole in your backyard and start burying your stuff before they come for it.
Yeah. Man, Brian, what a shame. Keep fighting.
Thank you.
Stay there and fight it out. And
no, I'm not going anywhere. This is my home.
Right on, man. I appreciate you, man.
I'm not going to run. Thanks, James.
How old are you, by the way?
I am 35.
Okay. Dang. All right, man. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye. let me get to quickly Joe out of Phoenix, Arizona. We set it up for you, Joe. How you doing?
Doing well, James.
Nice to hear from you. Thanks for backing me up on that dispute with Andy Ruther yesterday. Where are you going, Joel? Oh, okay. Because diversity is not the solution, and interracial marriage doesn't inherently breed love. And he was thinking that was a solution. That is such a pipe dream, as you said. That was so right.
Well, he was talking about having sex.
Yeah.
Outside of marriage and all that. So he was an idiot.
True. Yep. It's nominal Catholics for you, man. Such a shame. So, anyways, you had a question for Joel?
Yeah, Joel, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Joel, hello. Okay.
Hey,
So
Joe.
I just wanted to encourage you to keep up with your businesses. And there's good news for black men. You know, the share of black men in poverty has fallen from 41% in 1960 to only 18% today. And the share of black men in the middle class or upper class has risen from 38% in 1960 to 57% today. This is according to a Harvard study.
The
So
what?
there is progress.
A Harvard study.
And good, yeah.
What was
there is progress and good news.
What went up?
Socioeconomic stuff.
The share of black men in the middle or upper class, as measured by their family income, has risen from 38% in 1960 to 57% today. So there is good news. So keep striving for your goals, and don't believe all the negative crap about black people and black men. All right.
Well, I just go by what I see, and I don't doubt that stuff to be true.
Well, that's stupid, Joel.
I go by what I see.
Anecdotal
the
evidence
proof
means nothing.
Wait, what? Anecdotal evidence means nothing? I wish that Andy Ruther knew that. But anecdotal evidence doesn't mean nothing because...
Sure it does.
But listen, you're citing stuff doesn't relate to the spirit, and Joel sees the spirit of things. And the spirit and what people are voting for has not improved. All races, and includes blacks, have started to accept things that are crazy and immoral. They're immoral things.
We can agree on that.
Yeah. So all this money stuff, it's nice, but it's ill-gotten gain in a sense. It's just like women working, right? Women working has been bad for women and men and kids. It's ill-gotten gain. Yeah, we've gotten so-called richer, but we're not having kids, a lot of us. And just society in general. I mean, it's just one aspect. You are, but it's one aspect, one negative aspect of the cultural decline.
I think it's good to, Joe. I think it's good to point out, there's people like you who may be working and not begging, or me, Jesse. Those are notable, but at the same time, it's necessary to criticize the others who are not, and that's what's being done.
Joel, you were talking earlier about how the few negative blacks that do terrible things influence your thinking. Yet, the FBI describes the average white-collar criminal as a college-educated white man.
But I don't see it as a few negative blacks.
But the stats say it is. Less than 2% of black Americans commit any kind of violent crime.
What is the stat? What is the stat for whites though? It's disproportionate. Still, you can't. You saying that is fine. It shows that it's a minority, right? At least of those who get caught.
Tiny fraction, yeah.
Yeah, but that's actually still like 1 in 100. It's more than 1 in 100.
No, it isn't, Dave.
Yeah, it is. 2%. 2% is over 1 in 100.
Well, I don't know.
You're talking about a very small minority of people who do
I know it's small, but out of 100,
that.
there's going to be 1 and 1 plus.
But Joe,
that's math.
Not necessarily. Go ahead, Joel.
Yeah, because I don't know stats. I don't know all this. I know a little bit from what I've heard, but I haven't lived a long time. It's only been 28 years. But for all 28 years that I've seen, that I've remembered, there's always been something off with the blacks. And even growing up in middle school, I've always had that kind of issue with, blacks. So it's not
Then you
that
need
it's
to
not.
educate yourself better.
No, but it's
Joel,
not about
because again,
it's not about the education of it. It's just about what I can see with my eyes. There's always been
Okay.
something that's been
but
off
you're
as far
looking
as the
at
black
the wrong
spirits,
thing,
though.
Joel.
I'm looking at when you're young and you're just living life, you look around and you see, okay, who has a good spirit, who has a bad spirit. You're not thinking, oh well, what stats are these, or what is, let me get the education of on what I see. No, when you're a kid, you just see, you don't want to play with them because they're bad, you want to play with them because they're good. And then majority
but
of the
you're getting
time,
distracted, Joel. Hold on.
but really, I'm gonna let you get to.
Distracted, buddy.
Let me just finish really quick. So majority of the time is, you're looking at just the spirit of things, and you see that, okay, well, they're acting up over there. I'm not gonna do it. And how do they treat you? How do they? What kind of friend are they? So I just had experiences through different. I went to 6 elementary schools. I've been to 4 junior highs. So I've moved around. I've seen.
Good grief.
No wonder he's like that.
I've seen different communities. I've been around different people, but it always came back to, that spirit of the blacks that, not all of them, of course, but has been the same. So it's just proof.
No, but you're referring to those who are caught committing violent crimes, and he's not talking about the violent crime stuff. He's talking about the attitude.
So we're talking about the spirit, okay?
And not
$200 billion to $600 billion per year in white collar crime. That can wreck an economy, Joel. So why aren't you worried about that spirit?
Well, but you're caught up on the whole stats of it all, and I'm just saying the spirit of it all. But even, look at the spirit of it all too, is that, that's still proof that if their spirit is off and they're not getting it right in their spirit, then eventually all the other stuff just backs up. The crime, the stealing, the immorality. I don't need stats. Right. It's just a proof.
Okay then, but I don't see you ever complaining about the white collar stuff, though, right? It's the blacks.
We don't see that. And the other thing is, Jesse's calling is to the blacks. If you're calling,
because you don't see it,
right?
You don't see it doesn't mean it's not happening.
But we're calling out all immorality among all races. You know that.
I never hear that.
Yeah, we do. Oh, what the heck?
You said the whites are weak.
I hear blacks. Serious.
Oh, you're not listening then.
Sure I am, James.
But you're not hearing when he calls out the whites for sleeping out of wedlock, sleeping together out of wedlock, and all that stuff. You don't hear him calling out the whites for their cowardice and.
Occasionally, sure, but the ratio of folks, and I know,
if your calling is to if your calling is to call out those whites committing white collar crimes, great. We need that. I agree. And we should also there's a whole lot of Asians doing it too. They're probably getting away with it more. And
Jesse has been very clear that he doesn't care about being effective. And objective
means he's objectively right. But you're saying he has to talk about all the crime in the whole world in order to be objective.
No, I'm not. But
all the crime in America.
If Jesse really cared about making a change in the black community, he wouldn't use all the insults and denigration and stereotypes. That's
female thinking, man.
He'd call out the bad behavior for sure.
That's female thinking. He's just speaking. Yeah, it is, because he's just speaking as is reality.
Or not.
You're trying to stifle his freedom of speech. Well, you're trying to police him. Definitely.
People don't care what you know until they know how much you care. And how you say something matters just as much as what you're saying. So if Jesse says all this, but people tune him out.
Last statement, Joel.
Then how effective is it? Go ahead, Joel.
Last statement is if somebody got beat up and shot, right? And then their ankle got broke, and then they got broken. And then they got shot in the heart, right? The heart is gushing blood, but the ankle is broken. Which one is the medic going to go to first? The heart that's gushing, or they're going to go to? But that's how I see it with the issues that are going on within the races. Is that, to me, from what I've seen, the black community has more issues and needs to be focused on more. Not discluding. That's not even a word, but you get my point. Discluding the other races. But it's still the facts that, the blacks are the ones with
excluding
most of the issue.
What is
it? Excluding, yeah.
Yeah.
The blacks are the ones that Jesse's trying to fix the broken arm.
Jesse knows blacks. He doesn't know white collar people. A little bit he does. But anyways, Joe, I gotta go.
All right, go ahead.
Talk to you later, man. Appreciate you. Let me quickly get to Skip out of Augusta, Georgia. Skip, how are you doing?
Hey, James, how you doing, man?
Fine. What's up?
Well, I was just sitting here laughing at Joe Kenyon and all his statistical, his numbers and everything. Well, I got some numbers too. Down here in the South, I don't know about where all y'all live, but there's a magazine that comes out twice a month and it's at all the convenience stores. It's called the Jail Report. And you open it up and it shows pictures of everybody that's got locked up within that 2-week period.
Wow.
And it's probably about 85, if not more percent more blacks in there than it is white.
Yeah.
How about them numbers, Joe Kenyon? Tell me about them numbers. You know?
I know what Joe Kenyon would say. He would say the white collar crime aren't going to show up in those.
Oh, he wants to talk about Wall Street. Well, he talks about white collar crime and Wall Street. Well, some of them blacks ought to get off welfare and get some education, go to work on Wall Street and see if they can't make a change with it.
All right, Skip, I appreciate it, man.
Wait a minute, I was going to ask you something.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Did you see the story? I saw it last night where this young white girl, she got body slammed at the school by, I'm not sure if it was a security officer or a police officer or whatever, but he body slammed her down to the ground. It was a black cop and a white student. Did you see that?
I did not. We'll have to check that out, man.
And I'll tell you what, you're not going to see much about it. You're not going to see Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton and all them raising Cain about that. It's not newsworthy, James.
Yeah, totally. You can't really exploit people that aren't interested. Thanks, man. I appreciate you, Skip.
All right, James. Keep up good work.
All right. You as well. Alex out of Seattle, Washington. Alex, thanks for holding, man. You there?
How's it going, Hake?
Doing fine. First time caller.
Yeah, what's up, Joel?
Hey.
He says, hey.
E-Block. All right. Hey, so my question for you today is, oftentimes we see the Republican Party, and not just the rhinos, but Trump and pretty much all the leadership, talking about lowest ever black unemployment, lowest ever Asian unemployment, lowest ever female unemployment. And I was just wondering, how is that beneficial for our party when, we do everything we can to help the minorities, and they still hate white people, they still hate the U.S., they still hate the founders. And if white people are the main voting demographic of Republicans, how does shilling for minorities help us win?
It's a fair question. We don't need to be doing that so much. I agree with you. It's fine. It's kind of an interesting stat to point out if it is like the lowest ever such and such unemployment. That's nice, I guess. But I agree, we don't need to be focusing on that. We need to be focusing on what's right and point out that these people are wrong. And whites are under oppression, let's call it. By their own hand in some cases, by others, by their parents, primarily probably, failure. And that needs to be addressed because whites are committing more suicide. They are dying by these opioids like crazy. We are not having babies, not getting married, and getting this stupid imitation of an education called education is really an indoctrination. And it's brainwashing. It's pure, disgusting evil. It's destroying the country. I mean, all this evil that is throughout social media and the media, academia, and even in families. It's even in the families. That's why we're so weakened to this corruption. And definitely. I would love to see people really, like, as in politicians and leaders, really addressing it, rather than dismissing these people who are addressing the attack on whites, anti-white bias, the unchecked both legal and illegal immigration. Yes, I am against legal immigration right now.
Amen, Hake. And I'm black too, so
Nice.
I don't want to see the country go to hell in a handbasket. Sometimes I go down south to Tacoma, Washington, one of the majority black cities and other demographic cities, and it's like I'm in Guatemala.
I know, it's terrible. We put out a 2007 JLP episode radio show, and I put together a slideshow of him interviewing this. He was interviewing this black preacher about this 2007. I hadn't heard about it before. May 1st, 2007 riot by illegal aliens at MacArthur Park in Los Angeles. MacArthur Park is where they get the fake IDs. And they were rioting against the police, and then the authorities blamed the police for it. The stupid mayor, Villaraigosa, who's no longer mayor, thank God. But now we have another stupid mayor now. And William Bratton, who I didn't know that he was over here. I thought he was over in New York or something. But he was in charge of the LAPD. It was like the chief. And they're blaming the cops for it. They fired one cop, I think. And I'm looking at the footage of this riot, and like you said, Guatemala, these people, it's terrible.
Yeah, they need to go back. But also, just one quick thing, if you still have a little bit of time.
Go for it.
If we're talking about the anti-white bias, I go to a university here in Seattle, and a smaller campus. Basically, somebody put up some "It's okay to be white" signs here on campus.
Yeah.
And I'm going to read a little piece of the email that I received.
Wow.
This is word for word. So
Okay.
This is not a troll, okay? So this is from the community. Dear campus community, I'm writing to let you know the last week a few flyers reading "It's okay to be white" were posted near the campus. I don't want to dox myself. Executive offices near the school. These signs were removed by campus safety as they were a violation of our university posting policy. Additionally, the FBI has been informed. These flyers are part of a broader, coordinated, nationwide campaign by white supremacists and neo-Nazis so feared among us. So I'm going to cut it off right there.
Yeah.
We're talking about the anti-white agenda.
Yep.
The connotation of this email is to say that it's not okay to be white.
Yep.
You have to hate white. You have to be a self-hating white if you're white. The sign doesn't say whites are awesome. It doesn't even say anything. It just says, whites are okay.
Yeah.
And this is pretty disgusting stuff, because, even though I'm black, I'm also half white. It helps to have white in you. It helps to have some sense. But the stuff that's going on is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was thinking, what if I went up and put up signs that said whites are subhuman? Would they call the FBI?
I doubt it.
No,
Yep.
they would. They would probably clap. So.
Yeah, it's mainstream to dismiss and hate white people. That's crazy, man. I appreciate it, Alex.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Take care, man.
Hey, you too. Bye-bye.
All right. Let me get to Julius out of Sacramento, California. Julius, how are you doing?
Hey, how you doing, Hake?
Fine, man. What's up?
All is well over here. Now, I wanted to piggyback. Excuse me. I wanted to piggyback off something that you said earlier because you made a good point about when people are honest about black people. The moment that you're honest, people tend to want to police the things you say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I had a discussion with somebody yesterday because I posted this tweet that somebody posted about. It said that the gays only wanted gay marriages, but now the media is celebrating child drags, tampons are not for men, drag queens reading to kids in the library, flashing their genitals and things like that. And I posted that and had this debate with somebody about it. And they were basically telling me that if it's not my cup of tea, to pay it no mind. I told them, but by paying it no mind is equivalent to going along with it.
Yeah.
And I don't go along with wrongdoing, so I have the right to speak out against it as a concerned citizen. I'm going to talk about these things because these things are happening.
Yeah.
When you tell people these things, they think that you're homophobic and things like that. And I'm like, but these things are happening. Like this footage on YouTube.
Yep.
You can see these things are happening. And I'm speaking out about it because we have to start addressing this, because if we just pay it no mind, then we'll know better than anybody else that's allowing it to happen.
The reason that they tell you that is they can't help but pay you mind when you speak out about it. You're not their cup of tea, but they can't pay you no mind. And it is good to pay it mind, because it's really, I mean, especially if you're doing it from the right spirit, because nobody is showing them any love. It's just like what's happened with the blacks, where nobody can criticize the blacks, and anybody who does is called an Uncle Tom or whatever, or racist.
Just like Jesse says, I've been called everything in the book but a child of God.
Yeah. So there's like honestly, there's a lack of truth getting to the blacks, and there's a lack of truth getting to the gays.
Yeah. To the
especially
lesbians.
love. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to point this out real quick. So I do a ride share job, and I've done it for 2 months now. I spoke to a lot of people, and I've been honest with them. I know, when you're at work, you don't talk about these things, but when you're in the car with somebody for an hour or half an hour, they want to talk to you. And so I have these conversations that Jesse talks about on his show, and it's been mind-blowing how many people just get it.
Wow.
They understand where I'm coming from. I've been honest about the racism, the homophobicism, all that, and most people, they agree with me. They go, man, I know what you're talking about, but they don't want to speak up about it because they're fear of the backlash.
Nice.
And I tell them, I say, you got to speak up, because you just got to be honest about it. Who cares if you lose your job or things like that? There's all these opportunities. I tell them the order that Jesse tells them, God in Christ, Christ in man. I tell them that order. Man, it is mind-blowing. Most people understand that order, and they get it. They go, you know what, you're absolutely right. So I can't hate my husband for this and that, because then the kids will be the same way. I'm like, exactly.
Nice.
It is so crazy, man. So I'm one of those people who are speaking up and helping people to overcome it. I had people come in the car for 10 minutes and change their mind just like that, because they understood the order of life, and it comes from love, not hate.
That's cool, man. We're taking back the West Coast.
I'm black. He black.
Right on, Julius. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, man. I appreciate taking my call. Thank you.
All right. Take care, man.
You too. Bye-bye.
That is so nice. That's why I say about these people that want to flee the West Coast and stuff, go ahead and run. Run home and cry to mama. Do we have Dylon's question? He supposedly transferred his video to you. Let me know if you get it. Okay. Let me get to Charles at St. Louis, Missouri. Charles, how are you?
Hey, what's happening, Hank?
Not much, man.
Hey, I got a question for you and Joel.
Okay.
How many corporations control the media?
3, 5, something like that?
It's 5.
Nice.
Do you know they're all democratically ran?
I think I kind of basically knew that. I didn't explicitly know it, but yeah.
So if 5 control the media, then they control what you see, believe, and hear. Am I correct?
Kind of. I don't know, because they do control a lot of people who are unquestioning, but I don't know. I kind of, for a long time, I've been pretty questioning.
Jane.
Yeah.
Almost all that you hear, see, and understand to be reality is controlled by 5 corporations.
Uh-huh.
That's movies, literature, music, sports, and racism.
Well, thank God we have Jesse, right? I didn't find him through any corporation.
Don't you see? You shouldn't even went there.
Why?
Anyway, because Jesse loves no one. Jesse
he loves everybody.
Jesse. No, Jesse came up out the South.
He doesn't care about anyone, but he loves everyone.
I'll take that. He doesn't care about it. He doesn't care about whites, blacks, Chicanos. He doesn't care.
All right, man.
And he cares about Ninja
Guineas? How can you not? That's money.
Yeah, it's money. How can a man who represents God go to
Ninja guineas are pretty cheap. They're just $10, aren't they?
Wait a minute, and follow him, and built them out of almost $150,000.
Do you agree with the people that say the same thing that you're saying about Jesse? They say it about Trump, that Trump only cares about Trump. Trump only loves
Trump's
himself.
a whole different thing.
Thank you.
Trump has a mandate from God.
From the people too.
No. His job most definitely is coming from God.
Yep. So is Jesse's.
Is he a righteous and Christian man? No, he isn't.
How are you going to say that? You don't know.
And
I think
you don't
he is.
either, James.
Huh? Hello?
What did you say, James?
I said that so is Jesse or something like that? I forget. Oh, no, I said, how are you going to say that he's not a righteous and Christian man? You said that Trump is not a righteous and Christian man. That's
well, to be righteous in the eyes of God, Trump is not.
How are you going to say that?
Okay.
No, I don't okay to that.
Wait a minute. Because he name calls. Because
that's name calling for Christ.
But I understand why he does it.
Charles,
Every time he does it, he makes the Democrats react and show their hand.
So did Jesus.
Pardon me?
Jesus name called for God.
So
Trump is name calling for Christ.
He was talking to the Pharisees.
Name calling for Jesus.
This conversation.
Huh?
He was talking to the Pharisees, James.
Yeah, and that's what we have here. The Pharisees are the Trump haters today. And the Sadducees, right?
No, the Pharisees is actually the Congress.
Okay.
The Pharisees
he called
is
them out
upper
too,
government.
Yeah. All right, man. I appreciate you.
But as far as Jesse being all that in this, he's a con man. And
Con man, I gotta go. You're slandering. Why are you slandering? What is slanderer?
Because he is a con man.
No, he's not.
Okay, how do you get all these poor white people to give you $150,000? Ask for $100.
They're not because these white people aren't so poor as you thought.
Because you want to move. You ask for $100 because you want to move.
I gotta go, man. You're saying nothing.
And he's going for $300,000.
You're speculating and saying nothing.
Buy him a building.
Why not?
If that ain't a con,
it's not a con. People need buildings, you know.
It's a con.
All right, we have a difference of opinion, and your opinion is wrong. Bye, Charles. Gotta go, man. What an interesting call. People are really blind. And this person says, "Is James a Jew?" I should be flattered, right? I should be flattered. I run the world. That's a shame about. I like how Trump declared war or said that we need to go to war or he's calling on Mexico to go to war with the help of America with these drug cartels. And Mexico is saying, no, thank you. Mind your own business. It is our business. It is our business. They're killing Americans. They're causing Mexico, get your act together, man. Or woman. Mexico is kind of a maternal state. They worship Mary and stuff like that. And they're really pathetic. And Charles is such a slanderer. What a snake in the grass. He's a worse snake than some of the other people I've been calling snakes lately. Anyways, guys, we put out that 2007 episode. Check it out if you haven't already. And we're going to be putting out more 90s episodes, one later this week. It's going to be fun. And we have church from 2009, started into 2009, Sunday services. Bond or Building the Man YouTube channel. Check them all out. And we are still doing the Bond Building Fund, so do support. Charles, I expect you to support because you owe an apology and a fine. I'm going to fine you $100 for that slanderous comment about Jesse. And then you can support the Building Fund. All right, guys, take care.